Manus flat on the canvas. We are ready to rock and roll. Second round of action. There is a cut on Manus.
Yeah. Jesus.
Martial arts chat.
My man B-Hop, he got dropped out the ring last night. I need a little judo baby. I need me a little judo baby, and let's do it, Ron. Let's hit me up.
See you were filming this. You've got a face for radio.
That's got a face for radio.
That's nice.
Martial arts chat.
Hello and welcome to Martial Arts Chat Podcast. The episode is sponsored by B-Scare. B-Scare are a UK-based strength and conditioning company to suit all levels, from beginners, casuals, pro athletes. So go to bscare.co.uk, but use the coupon code Martial Arts Chat, and if you do that, you'll save 50%. They've got core sliders, straps and barbell pads, all different strength and conditioning programs to suit different levels. We're also sponsored by A1 Fight Gear. A1 Fight Gear use the latest cutting-edge boxing gloves for professional amateur fighters, gym enthusiasts and kickboxers, so local and national gyms in the UK. Do yourselves a favour, go check out a1fightgear.com. And finally, we're also sponsored by the MMA Takeover. For the real MMA rankings, go to MMAtakeover.com, or you can check them out on Facebook or on Twitter. So to my guest today, it's Mike Raddich. Mike is the creator of Cage Fighters from the Rock, a comic book series that takes place in the world of mixed martial arts, and we're excited to have him on. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, man. And we were just chatting a wee bit before the show, like disclosure. I'm not a comic book fan, but like I know like friends of mine and like cousins of mine and stuff are, and with this mix of MMA, which the MMA part's what caught my like ADD, if you like, man. I was like, whoa, this guy's into his mixed martial arts. So tell us about Cage Fighters from the Rock and what it's all about, mate.
Okay, so Cage Fighters from the Rock is the perfect blend of MMA with action adventure. We have perfected the recipe for a balanced story where we can be described as an action adventure story with MMA, or we can be described as an MMA story with action adventure. We have two plots. We have the main plot and the subplot. Our main plot is where most of our action adventure takes place. Our subplot is where most of our MMA takes place. But since MMA is a culture like hip-hop culture or sneaker culture, MMA is not just a sport, it's a culture. We're able to blend the MMA stuff into the action-adventure side of things. So we have this perfect mix, and the story is very simple. It's a good versus evil tale, and it's the story of three world champion MMA fighters who fight crime in their spare time. And there's this whole plot of a escaped criminal trying to take over their city, and the escaped criminal has become the mayor of their city, and he orders to have their coach murdered, and that's how they get involved in our main plot. The subplot is all about them because they're MMA fighters, and that's the MMA side of the story. And it's a very simple story, just three world champion MMA fighters who have to stop an escaped criminal from destroying their city. And the subplot is building up a champion versus champion title fight. And one of our fighters, Razor Roger Neal, he's the welterweight champion of our fictional MMA promotion called MMA FC. And he's being challenged by the lightweight champion who's trying to take his belt and be the double champ, a la Daniel Cormier, Conor McGregor,
champ, yeah.
Yes, all those guys. So we have the main plot, which is the action-adventure side of things, and then we have the subplot, which is the MMA side of things, but all blended together. It can be described as many things, but at its core, it's a good versus evil story where we have three world champion MMA fighters fighting against the forces of evil.
It's awesome, man. And you mentioned like Daniel Cormier and Conor McGregor, like the champ scenario there. I mean, if you're writing about MMA or writing MMA characters, I imagine you must be drawing some influence from some real life MMA guys, right?
Yes and no. I say no because of the action adventure side of things. I don't know what they would do in an action adventure setting. I don't know. I know what these guys can do in the cage. I've seen all their fights, but I don't know what they would be doing out on the streets fighting crime. So no on that side of things, but on the other side of it, I guess you could say that I based some stuff off real life people, but not really, because when I started writing this story, it was totally different, and it was just an action adventure story with some MMA. But as time went on and I kept writing draft after draft, something new happened, and the original story was way different than the story that people are going to be seeing come August 2019. And the fighters, they don't blend, like, they don't remind me of a specific person. I guess they could remind someone of a type of person. So we have our main characters, the 3 cage fighters. John Kang, who's the leader of the cage fighters from The Rock, he represents that classic martial artist who got into MMA. He's a guy who never is in there to hurt someone. He doesn't love the attention. He's not in there for the fame. He's not in there for the money. He just fights because it's the next step in his martial arts journey. He represents those fighters. So you could kind of see similarities to real life people, but it's totally a coincidence that there's real life people. I never based any of my characters off of real life people. I just tried to come up with an action adventure story that had some MMA. But as I kept writing draft after draft, the only way to make an interesting story and a story that came together in the right way was to pull inspiration from different places. But it is totally a coincidence that it could be related to real life people.
How long you been a writer, Mike?
Since 2013, but I've been covering the sport of mixed martial arts, covering events, interviewing fighters since 2009.
But creating fiction, is that something that's new in your life, mate?
2013, around that time.
Right, got you, man. And so what kind of stuff, like, you say covering, like, MMA, are you doing, like, podcasting, interviews, like that kind of thing, yeah?
Yes. On YouTube, you can find me, just Mike Raddich, and all my interviews are on my channel there. Really Random with Raddich, that's the name of the podcast, but you can find us on YouTube. And I've interviewed tons of different fighters, all the fighters that you think I would have interviewed. Those are the ones that I've interviewed. I to take credit for this. I don't know if it's true, but it's true to me. But I discovered Paige Van Zandt. You can go there. September of 2012. That was when I interviewed her. She only had one fight, so this is way before the UFC, way before Invicta, way before Dancing with the Stars. So that's my claim to fame. Because I called it, I knew she was going to be a star, and I was proven correct.
Fair enough, man. That's awesome. Fucking hell. You mentioned you were a fan of mixed martial arts from like an early age. What did you say? You were like 10 or something when you started watching mixed martial arts? 10 years old. 10. I was watching Ninja Turtles and The Simpsons. Like, I wasn't anywhere near like watching mixed martial arts at 10. That's like, what an influence, man, that must have had on your life.
Definitely. Looking back on it now, that was a very important time in my life. 2003, that was a very important year because I started watching MMA in 2003. Pride 25 Body Blow. That was the event, obviously, where Anderson Silva defeated Carlos Newton. Fatal fought against Antonio Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira. And the biggest event that happened that night was the birth of the feud between Quentin Rampage Jackson
and Vanderlei.
Rampage defeated the late, great Kevin Randleman, and he called out Vanderlei Silva. Vanderlei Silva did the ring, and everything started. And that night started their feud, but it also started my love of MMA. And then also in 2003, I met Frank Miller, the great comic book creator. I met him at a bookstore signing. So if you look at that year, 2003, and you look at the work I'm doing now with this mixture of comic books and MMA, 2003 was the most important year ever for me.
Yeah, that is a heavy influence, man. Yeah, I think, have you not got like Rampage Jackson or something, like as a street soldier? I remember seeing. Is that on the cover? Is that right?
Yes, that was a comic book series. That actually kind of started this whole thing. That was a comic book series that IDW, a comic book company here in the United States, put out, and I didn't get that gig. And it's a long story, but to make a long story short, I wanted that gig. They didn't give it to me, and I came up with an alternate story, and the alternate story is the one that we're talking about today. But it all started because I didn't get that gig. I thought I had the inside track because I've been watching Rampage for as long as I've been a fan, and also I interviewed him back in 2010 when he fought in my area at UFC 123 against Lyoto Machida, and I thought I had the inside track, but they didn't give me that job. So I knew that there was something more in me. I knew I could come up with an MMA story, and this is the story.
2003, man. What a time in Pride. It was an amazing time. If you compare it to today, though, like, there's still some of the old guys kicking about from Pride. Rampage comes to mind, obviously we mentioned Fedor. Fedor seems to be matched correctly, but see, when I think of things like how do you feel about one of the things that comes up in the podcast is Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell getting in there again, and Chuck, man, it looks like, I don't know, I hate to say it, but like, I think something could go wrong in this fight. I hope it doesn't, but I don't know. What do you have any thoughts on Ortiz and Liddell 3?
See, it's a little weird for me because nostalgia is setting in, and since I started watching MMA when these guys were at the top of the mountain, I like to see them still around. Like, I have that love for those guys still, even though we're so far removed. It's been 15 years now since I started watching. We're so far removed from that era. I have a different feeling on it because I know that, in a way, like you said, something could go wrong, but at the same time, I'm hoping that something great happens because I love those guys forever, and I love seeing them around, and I want them to keep staying around forever, even though I know that's not possible. It's just the fanboy in me that's coming out, and even though I know something about it isn't right, I still want to see it because I have those great old memories.
Yeah, the nostalgia is a big part of it for me, but man, I don't know. I'll be watching it through my fingers, I think, for that one. I don't know. I'm cringing. But like, I was just thinking, it was on my mind about like you comparing today's MMA. I spoke to John Fitch recently, and he was talking about like trash talk and promotion. It's part of the problem, really, in 2018. I don't know. I guess like it does make money, but often sometimes it's just too overbearing. I don't know. How do you feel about like how like particularly UFC goes about promoting fights these days?
See, in our story, we kind of touch on this. And again, this is totally a coincidence. I did not plan on any of this. Just as I kept writing the story to make a compelling story, I had to add some of this stuff in there. And it actually just came to me. I just started writing, and when I reread what I had written, it just came up. But we kind of touch on this because John Kang, he kind of represents the old guard. He's in that Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell era. He's a guy who's from the old school. You just fight whoever they put in front of you, bow to your opponent, all that stuff. And then Razor Roger Neal, he represents the current era of MMA. He's a younger guy, all about promotion, all about trash talk, all about the stuff that we're seeing right now. And that was totally a coincidence, but as I started writing it, I realized, hey, we have a real story here. We're doing, I guess you could say, commentary on the current state of MMA through these two guys. Here's an older guy who's all about respect, and then here's a younger guy who is all about the promotion side of things. Yeah. But I really do think that there's a need for both. I like when there's a good mix of both. I don't like when everyone goes the respect route, but I also don't like when everyone goes the trash talking route. I think when we find a good place in the middle, I think everything works. The worst part is when people are forcing it. I remember there was a press conference. It was one of those big ones, those UFC kickoff ones where they bring out like 10 different fighters from like 5 different cards. Mm-hmm. And I remember that one day everyone was doing a Conor McGregor impersonation. Conor McGregor, but then everyone else was talking trash to who they were fighting. Michael Johnson and Justin Gaethje, none of these guys have ever said a word in their entire lives, but that day they had something to say. Yeah. Kevin Lee, Michael Chiesa, no one has ever heard these guys talk ever. No one knows what these guys' voice sounds like. That day, Kevin Lee started turning into Conor McGregor. That was the birth of him becoming this trash-talking guy. And Michael Chiesa, he has never said anything, but then all of a sudden he's talking trash. So I like it when we meet in the middle, where we have a little bit of respect, but a little bit of trash talk, and everyone can be themselves. It gets horrible for me watching as a fan when it's forced and fake. If you're going to talk trash, at least make it real. And if you're going to be respectful, do it in a way that is, do it in a way that's true to yourself. Yeah. Don't just do it to do it for the cameras. If you're going to be respectful, do it because that's actually who you are. And if you're going to talk trash, actually do it because it's real and you're saying this stuff about the guy because you actually don't like him. Don't do that thing where, oh, it's just about the money. Like, I didn't mean it. Well, if I bought it, I think you mean it. I bought this fight because I wanted to see you two guys fight each other because you claim you don't like each other. I can't pay $60 as a fan and you say that it was all fake. I bought it. So if I can't get my money back, then don't tell me that. If this feud between you and this guy isn't real, well, then I didn't really pay $60. I want my money back. So make it real. That's all I ask.
$60 is ridiculous. It's funny. I'm laughing. Like, we put a video up. It was a clip from Bill Burr. Anyone listening, go check out Bill Burr Monday Morning Podcast. It's fucking hilarious. But he's ranting and raving about after watching the Diaz GSP fight. He was like, it was a great fight. He says, but I was sold on the fact that GSP flipped out and like he's going to put a savage beating on this guy. And at the end of it, he goes, oh, it was just promotion for the fight. And he's like, don't tell me that. Like, I already know that, but don't tell me that. I feel like I've just been ripped off and duped. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel the same, man. It's like you got to have a balance between, if it's genuine, build up, because then it makes a great story. If it's forced, it does become cringeworthy, man. Yeah, like some of those guys you mentioned, like Michael KSI, totally comes to mind. Mike, a few of our listeners have got in touch, like some fan questions for you. You okay to hang around and answer what martial arts chat listeners had to say, mate?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. Some from Facebook. First up, Penny Walker asks, love this idea. MMA and comic books, my two favourite things. The Shadow Realm is the only thing that's came close in my opinion. Are you doing artwork too or getting someone in?
Martin Kokolo is the artist on this project. He has worked for all the big major comic book companies, and he worked on Green Lantern. That's the biggest character that he worked on for DC Comics, and he's the artist on this story. So I'm writing it, he's drawing it.
That's awesome, man. Tyrone Brown says, this will go well with Fight of the Century, I'm sure. When can we expect the video game? Wow.
A lot of people have asked me that. They've asked me about video games and TV shows and movies and all that stuff, and my answer is the same for all that stuff. In order for that to happen, we need you on Indiegogo to back our project, because if we don't get the funding to make this as a comic book, all that talk about movies and TV shows and video games goes away. So back our project on Indiegogo and good things will happen.
Check it out on Indiegogo, guys. Ashley Shamore says, I have been collecting for a couple of years now, and I'm getting to the point where key and important issues are the ones I'm after. My question is, how does certified copy affect the value? I've seen a lot of different things ranging from double the value to not much of a difference, unless it's 9.8 or a major issue or something. I have no idea what any of that means.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
no, I understand. I understand what he's saying. Basically, time will tell the value of the story. So let's say everything goes great. We get funded on Indiegogo. We put it out into the world. People enjoy it. It gets made into a movie or TV series. That book becomes priceless. So it all depends on what time happens to us. If things go well, then the value goes up. If things don't go well, the value goes down. It's as simple as that.
I'll get you to explain that to me later, man. Sorry, I had no idea what that was all about. Jay Guidini, let's see, is saying, I heard CM Punk was trying his hand at comic books. Think he should do one about his MMA experience?
Sure. Why not? I guess that would be an interesting story. I would love to see his side of things told from every angle. Like when he just does an interview, we're only getting the recap of what we saw because we didn't see the behind the scenes stuff. So if he does something that encompasses everything that he's done in training leading up to the fights, the process of weight cutting and doing the media and all that kind of stuff, just see the whole experience told through his eyes, I think that would be a great idea. But in an interview setting, we can only see the stuff or he can only tell us about the stuff that we saw. We can't really understand what was going on before and after the fight. We can only understand what was going on during the fights that we saw. So if he tells us a story in comic book form that talks about everything, I think that would be interesting.
Me too, man. I'd actually quite like to see that. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Martial Arts Chat podcast, sir. Before I let you go, I just want to offer you the floor here to let our listeners know like where to check you out online, where to donate to your Patreon, and how to get in touch on social media, mate. The floor is yours, mate.
Okay. So there's 3 ways to follow me on social media. The first way is you go to facebook.com/CageFightersComic. Facebook.com/CageFightersComic. That's where you'll find all the information on this project, Cage Fighters from the Rock, a 12-chapter comic book series written by me with art by Martin Kokolo. You go to facebook.com/CageFightersComic, and all the information you need is there. The second way is you go to twitter.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, _ the little line, Raddich, R-A-D-I-C-H. You can follow me personally on Twitter at that name. Same name, different platform, Instagram.com/Mike _ Raddich, and you can follow me personally on Instagram at that name. And you can find the link to our Indiegogo campaign where we're funding Cage Fighters from the Rock. You can find them on all of those platforms. It's pinned at the top on my Twitter. It's pinned at the top on the Facebook page. And it's in my bio on my Instagram page. So those are the 3 ways you can find our Indiegogo campaign. You can also find us on Indiegogo just searching under the comic book section on Indiegogo. So you go to Indiegogo.com, find the comic book tab, and you can find us at Cage Fighters from the Rock comic book series on Indiegogo. And we have great perks on Indiegogo. If you back our project, we're doing a giveaway to everyone who backs us on Indiegogo. So we have a tier, a $1 tier. So for just $1, if you back us on Indiegogo at the $1, $1 US, you will be entered to win several different prizes. We have tons of different stuff that we're going to be giving away, and everything must go. Everything has to find a home. We're giving away everything. So all you have to do to be eligible is go to Indiegogo.com, back us at any level. We have a $1 level, a $5 level, a $10 level, a $25 level, and an $100 level. Back us at any one of those levels. Then bring 10 of your friends to back us at any of those levels. So you and your friends can, you and 10 people, that's 11 people, you can give us $11 and be entered to win a prize. We have Strike Force gloves, we have action figures, we have a UFC encyclopedia, we have DVDs, we have t-shirts. Everything has to go. Everything has to find a home. And for just $1, you can enter to win one of these prizes. Now, for $5, you can enter to win one of these prizes, but also you'll get the first issue of Cage Fighters from the Rock. That's 28 pages of full-color comic book story written by me and drawn by Martin Kokolo. So we have tons of different prizes to give away, and everything, like I said, has to go. So someone who backs our project at $1 could be potentially walking away with rare, hard to find, never going to find them again in your life, Strike Force gloves. We have action figures. We have everything that you could possibly imagine, MMA stuff and comic book stuff. So regardless of what you're coming to us for, whether you're a huge MMA fan or a huge comic book fan or both or neither, you just want some cool stuff, back us at any level on Indiegogo and you will be entered to win one of these great prizes. We teamed up with MMAsignatures.com, which is the largest MMA memorabilia company in the world, and they've given us some signed photos and some other stuff. So we have tons of merchandise that have to find a home. All you got to do is find us on Indiegogo, back us at any level, and that's that. We'll just give you a prize. Everyone who enters will be walking home with something. Everyone will be selected at random. The winners will just be picked at random once our Indiegogo campaign ends, and the Indiegogo campaign ends on December 23rd, so there's still plenty of time for you to get in on the action. Just $1 is all it takes. Bring 10 friends, share us on social media, and something special for one of our items will be on your doorstep in the near to distant future.
What action figures you got, mate?
We have all kinds of MMA action figures because of our deal with MMA Signatures. We have some Round 5 stuff. Some of those figures that aren't made anymore, mind you. Round 5 went out of business, so these are very rare. So we have that. We also have some Batman action figures from different series. We have Kenner Batman figures that aren't made anymore. We have DC Direct figures that aren't made anymore. We have all kinds of stuff. We also have DVDs. I'm actually holding, I know you can't see me on camera right now, but I'm holding some MMA DVDs. And I also have some comic book DVDs. And I also have just random movie DVDs. So we have that. We also have T-shirts, walkout MMA T-shirts that also need to find a home. So we have tons of different prizes that have to go.
It's awesome, man. I was just thinking, I wonder if the T Ortiz, though, has a really big head. That's what pops into my head.
Well, see, all of them have big heads because they're cartoon versions of real people. So that's the whole style. So everyone, even if they don't have a large head, has a large head.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then it's not in proportion because they've all got big heads. Like T Ortiz would need to be like especially big, I guess.
Right. Good call.
Mike Raddich, again, a pleasure, sir. Good luck at Cage Fighters from the Rock and everything you've got going on there.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for having me on your show. This was a blast.
Change your heart.